Hi, it is a Bitcoin morning brief. We are back. We have the boys from Prague. I am in Palm Springs. I will jump right to it. Tone, Jimmy, how's everything going in Prague?
Oh, going well. I'm speaking in a few hours for the first time. Jimmy's going to speak tomorrow, and it's great. First time in Prague, right, Jimmy?
No, it's my third time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the last time I was here was in 2001, though. So it's changed just a little bit. Although actually, I think city center looks pretty much the same. They don't really actually build that much because it already looks pretty good. But yeah, it's like all these places I go, people are like, oh, you get to travel, see all this stuff. No, I don't get to see anything. I stay inside and like talk to people, maybe work on my book, and that's what I get to do. So it's kind of a sad existence, actually. Planes and conference rooms.
Oh my gosh. But Tone, you're probably going to stay a couple other days, you jet setter, right?
No, I got right after the conference. I'm off to Kiev. There's another conference going on there. Me and Peter Todd are actually on the same flight, so it's so we have a similar travel schedule. So we're off to Kiev to speak there. But this conference is 3 days, and I only speak once. Got to do a couple of interviews, so hopefully I'll get some work done on Sunday.
Oh, and don't forget the carnivory dinner.
Carnivory dinner,
yeah.
Yep. That's gonna come up Sunday night, and then it'll be great. I'm pretty sure we're gonna pack house.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun here, and like there's a lot of like-minded people. It's always nice to meet people like that, and makes all of the planes, airports, and conference rooms worthwhile.
Yeah, it's an amazing lineup. I definitely pull it up, Tone, when you go through what's going on. I'm really sad I'm not there, to be honest. It looks absolutely incredible. All right, well, let's jump into the Wall Street Journal. So pretty simply put, as per the beginning, Wall Street Journal creates, then destroys its own cryptocurrency. Jimmy, what do you think about this act? They said that specifically they did this to try to understand cryptocurrency better.
I mean, everyone comes up with justifications for this stuff. I think they were pure in their motives, but I cannot recall how many people have said, oh, I just want to make a currency just for kicks and see what happens. And it's almost always like the same thing. It's like, I don't actually want to create a currency, but in case it does, then I want to, like they want to make money. It's to justify printing their own money. Wall Street Journal, I mean, I guess they are trying to understand what's going on with this stuff, but I don't know what this actually proves or gets them to understand. Like creating your own currency is fairly easy, and it's always been known to be fairly easy. You just change a few parameters, change the Genesis block. It's literally in one file in C++ off of Bitcoin Core that you have to change. And you change some of the parameters and you compile the binary and you're done. But, I mean, whatever it is, I guess maybe they understood a little bit. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's fine.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, no, it's and I really like. I even cut that part out of Seyfettin's book for one of my presentations, in that it's very trivial to just change Bitcoin's parameters and launch an altcoin. It's very difficult to change Bitcoin's parameters and keep it Bitcoin, but it's very easy to change anything and launch your own altcoin. I mean, this is what Bcash did. Just make a bigger block, and it doesn't mean that you're going to have anything. And the thing is, the sooner you actually decommission it, the better. Because if it actually gains some traction, you could be held liable for whatever happens afterwards. Because you're the creator, you're not Satoshi, you're not invisible. So while it may seem all fun and games, creating your own altcoin by changing a single variable in Bitcoin, it could come with some very serious, consequences from the state with all the guns. So we may not like it, but this is what happens when you create your own money and then stand on a pedestal trying to promote it as new money. It never worked for anyone. That's why, the people that did, Linden dollars and the Liberty Reserve guys, that's why they all got into a lot of trouble. And this could potentially be even worse for a lot of people.
Yeah, and just as a quick follow-up, Jimmy, it says right here that they hope to shed light on the emerging crypto economy, but also to try to provide a real use case for the journalism industry, and made it a grand total of 2 issued units. But what are your thoughts that this would provide a use case for the journalism industry? Well, this is not the first time we've heard different industries try to do this for content creation, etc.
Oh God. Oh God. Yeah, just every single time I hear somebody say, okay, let's make a utility token for X, Y, or Z, it's almost always, let's print money so we can support ourselves. That's really what you should be hearing when they say something about a utility token. So for me, this is, I mean, like they're trying to make the story more interesting because what they actually did is not very interesting at all. They just created a token and then they destroyed it. No, you're not going to find another use. A lot of people have tried and it doesn't work because it's centralized. And if you're going to centralize it, then you might as well not use a blockchain in the first place. You should just make it centralized and like have a convenient paywall or something. And if you're going to do it at all, use Lightning, right? Like that's the way to do it.
And the thing is, a lot of these people don't even realize that they're doing what Jimmy says. They may not even realize that they are. They're just printing money for themselves. The other use cases that I always run into is like, well, President Maduro in Venezuela is constantly printing money for his people, and that's going very, very badly. So if I start printing money for the people in Venezuela, I will do a much better job. Like I am going to show up there with my Dash token that I've been printing for myself forever, and now I'm going to print it for them, and I'm going to get everyone in Venezuela to use my printed Dash token like it's any better than the Venezuelan currency. Like that's the other one. It's like, well, we're going to help the poor get out of poverty. How are you going to do that? We're going to give them a token. How are you going to create that token? We're going to print it. So it's like they really don't see the irony.
No, they don't. They're going, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? Like it's not very, it constantly baffles my mind the lengths to which people will go to justify printing money. And like I got into an argument with Brandon Ike for a while on Twitter, and he was trying to justify why he had a Brave token, and it's really no better than because we want to print our own money. And there's like, he couldn't get around that. People will do mental gymnastics to the nth degree in order to justify printing their own money because it is just so profitable. And it's the very few people that have, spurned not printing their own money, not getting rich on that stuff that you should actually trust. Because believe me, a lot of people that are in Bitcoin have had the opportunity to make millions, possibly even billions of dollars, but they felt it was unethical and they refused to do it. That's the kind of integrity that you should be looking for, not, oh, we printed this thing and it's an experiment. They have all sorts of caveats, and it doesn't matter. If you follow the money, figure out what they're doing. I just it bothers me to no end.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yes, to Tone's point, it did come out that the Venezuelan Petro was copied after Dash, almost verbatim of the white paper. Also, to his point, BitPesa is listed as being on the panel. And at the very bottom, if everybody remembers, that AP, Associated Press, actually did partner with Civil to do almost the exact same thing. So let's move to the CFTC, since to Jimmy's point, following the money, although they are not talking about taxes, but what they are saying is that cryptos are commodities, and more than that, due to a recent court case that we have been covering, that they can prosecute fraud involving cryptos, and as it says here, and denying the defendant's motion to dismiss the CFTC's amended complaint. So very specifically put, commodities, and they can go after them. Tone, thoughts on CFTC's news? They're commodities now.
Yeah, I'm not exactly surprised. I mean, a lot of these, the CFTC seems to actually want to regulate this stuff. The SEC just doesn't. They're still like trying to like, man, if we make a ruling, we're actually gonna have to go and police it. We're gonna have to do some work. We might, we might make a bad ruling, and then we're gonna have to do more work. So the SEC continues to like do nothing. The CFTC seems to be way more on top of it. And the thing is, there's nothing they can do about Bitcoin, right? But now it looks like the CFTC is taking charge of all the exchanges and all the broker dealers. So it's very interesting. It looks like the CFTC, the SEC went after one broker, I think it was the SEC, I think it was all of them, like the FBI actually shut them down. So that's more in the CFTC domain because of futures contracts and swap contracts. So we'll see. I think if you're an exchange, you're going to be regulated. You're not going to be able to do this, in the same old style. And there's really nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And they are going to go after all of these exchanges. They're all going to be regulated. And people keep saying how fundamentally Bitcoin is so good. Bitcoin is so good. Let's see what happens when the regulators, choke all of these exchanges. Again, this makes my bearish case because Bitcoin will eventually do fine. But in the short term, if there is disruption in the exchange game, what do people do when there's disruption? When in any economy, the first thing people do is they pull their money and they hide it. This is how you get recessions. This is how you get depressions. This is how you get no economic activity. So if the CFTC is going to start seriously policing and shutting down these exchanges, the first thing everyone's going to do is they're going to pull their Bitcoin off the exchanges. And some people, some of the regulated traders and regulated players, they're going to pull that Bitcoin and they're probably going to sell it. Everybody else is going to pull it and they're going to hodl it. Now, if everyone hodls the Bitcoin, it will probably go up in value. But at first, as people are pulling it, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I hope this means a rise in value, not a fall in value. But liquidity is important. If there's less exchanges, there's less liquidity, a lot easier to move the market. And when it comes to Wall Street, they love to pump the market only to crash it back down because that's where the money's made.
Thanks, Tone. Jimmy, what are your thoughts on the news, but also to Tone's point of how it could affect Bitcoin short term, but also long term?
Yeah, I think short term, I'm not sure it has any effect because I don't think they're going to prosecute anything that soon. But it will, long term, I think it will definitely separate the wheat from the chaff. If you're a centralized altcoin, centralized ICO, well, guess what? You just, here's your choke point that's going to be choked to death by the CFTC. If they want to regulate you, they can. Bitcoin, on the other hand, no central point of failure. So it's going to be very, very difficult for CFTC to go after Bitcoin. All of these other ones, though, now they have a point of vulnerability, and this is something that they're all going to have to spend money on lobbying and political donations and all this other stuff in order to possibly defend against it, at least here in the United States, or not here, I guess we're in Prague right now.
Well, yeah. And in this particular case, they ruled a specific virtual currency was a commodity. And the thing is, the government can rule that any cryptocurrency except Bitcoin and maybe one or two others, maybe Monero, maybe Litecoin, but definitely Bitcoin, maybe Monero, maybe Litecoin. Almost everything else could be ruled a commodity. And the person that created it could be held liable for that commodity, including Ravencoin, which is what we tried to discuss with Bruce Fenton, because his name's on the white paper.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's going to expose these coins for the centralized entities that they are. And that's the big difference between Bitcoin and everything else. Bitcoin is decentralized, everything is centralized, everything else is centralized. So I think like the force of regulation really only goes towards those things that are centralized. And more regulations there are, the worse news it is for altcoins and ICOs, the better news it is for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I also completely agree with that. And to Jimmy's point, yes, there is now a DC lobbying group backed by shitcoins, but let's weed out these fucking shitcoins. I couldn't agree more. I do think it's going to be great for Bitcoin in the end, but I agree with you, Tone, that I think in the short term, as people currently don't understand, I think that Bitcoin is different than the rest of the shitcoins. It may affect the price and be more bearish, but long term, I agree. Just really quickly, this is actually what the pamphlet is that they were giving out in the FinTech conference 2 days ago. And as it says here, is Bitcoin a commodity? Yes. Does CFTC oversee Bitcoin? They can. So it was pretty clear. All right. Let's go to Novogratz, and I do have your tweet, Tone. I'm going to go to that pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's been articles. Yeah, people have been writing articles and putting my tweet in there. My tweet wasn't like, I'm not aggressive to Novogratz here. I thought it was a very like reasonable tweet. I didn't expect him to reply to this tweet, but he did. Like, I'm actually saying he's finally realistic. I'm sorry, go on.
No, you're good. I love this. But yes, he's flipped. He's finally bearish. But I did want you to really quickly talk about my take. Quote, he is under pressure from investors on losing Bitcoin crypto positions and needs to now create a realistic expectations. I do find that very interesting. Can you elaborate a bit?
Sure. So clearly the end of the year is coming. And if you scroll down in that tweet and you click on Novogratz reply, and if you scroll down on that a little bit, keep going. Keep going. There was a little more. There'll be a picture. Go a little further. There it is. No, this? Down. That, yeah. Right. So this is what people are talking about, right? So, so it's the same publication, and look at the dates. They're about 10 days apart. And one of them says, Novogratz, it says that it's impossible for Bitcoin not to hit 10,000 by this year. But this year is coming to an end. So now he says Bitcoin short term won't break 9,000, right? So I really hope that wasn't a misquote by the publication. And if he said it was and the word impossible is what really bothers me. Won't break 9,000 by end of this year. I wouldn't call that bearish, right? Like Bitcoin can still go up 50% and it still won't break 9,000. Well, it can go up 40%, right? So he still thinks that the bottom is in. It doesn't mean that he thinks it's going to go further down, but it's a more realistic view. I mean, it's easy for me to say Bitcoin won't hit 8,000 this year. It doesn't, I mean, it's like, and then it falls like by 80% and I'm still right. Or it goes up by 40% and I'm still right. So he's starting to be a little more general. And again, I think that if Bitcoin falls another few $1,000s, he's going to have a lot of very angry investors with him. And we'll see what happens. I'm still waiting for Novogratz to panic sell that giant position before the bottom is in.
Right. And a lot of people with funds like his like to talk their books when they're getting in trouble. Jimmy, what do you think about this big flip-flop, it seems?
Well, it looks like a heads I win, tails you lose kind of scenario. He's trying to make sure that he has a quote that's correct so he could crow about it a year.
I really like this comment.
Or 9,500 by the end of the year, so he gets both wrong. Yeah, it's entirely possible. But he's hedging his bets, and then like a year later, when nobody remembers any of this stuff, he'll just be like, "See, I was right either way." Yeah. And that's I think what a lot of like journalists do as well is they try to play both sides of it by like putting in a lot of quotes. You know, like Paul Krugman does this all the time. He'll just like say one thing and then the other. And then like years later, like when nobody actually remembers what he wrote, he'll just like cherry pick quotes where he was correct. But yeah, it just tells you how many predictions these guys make as a way to sort of future-proof themselves into seeming like profits, when in fact, it's just that they've made lots and lots of predictions.
Right. Well, now you might scroll back up a little bit on that one, back to my reply to Novogratz's reply. I have nothing. Oh, sorry, just go out, back out. No, not there.
Yeah, no, she needs to go back. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So that's my reply to his reply, right? Like, I have nothing against Novogratz. He's not a scammer. He's actually like one of the 5% of legitimate people in this space. It's just that he's such a high-profile name, and he's been goddessized in the media over his, like, you know, Bitcoin predictions. And I'm not jealous about that. He's a bigger name. It's just that I'm actually using him to help me identify the trends in Bitcoin. So I'm actually happy that he's in the news speaking, because it gives me an understanding of a better understanding of the markets. I would love to be like, you know, on a panel with Novogratz one day. I'm absolutely nothing against him. So just want to make that clear in case he's watching, because clearly he's reading. Michael, would love to meet you one day. I will be in New York eventually. Would be a great chat. Would be great to interview you. And I am still bearish because of technical analysis. I would love to find out if you have technical analysts in your fund, and if it's more of a technical play or a fundamental play. Clearly, it's a fundamental play. But as the lawyers told me on our law show, they are bothered when people like you go on TV when the price of Bitcoin is $15,000 and you talk about how Bitcoin is going to $100,000. Now, it may not be a big deal for you to buy 100 Bitcoin and hold them through a bear market. But what you don't realize is some guy is maxing out his credit card to buy one Bitcoin at 15,000, and that he cannot afford. So that's what more people need to realize, and expectations need to be, or at least mention that it's a high risk asset.
Yeah, definitely.
I have no sympathy for people that are doing stuff like that. They're taking their own risk.
Absolutely, I agree with you, and I think, yeah, he's in trouble. He's talking his book to the point of your tweets. Definitely interesting thread, and it's cool that he wrote back. So yeah, I would love to see you guys on a panel. Now, Jimmy, SegWit now comprises 50% of Bitcoin transactions. Quite recently, it's saying there's a sudden spike on October 4th. For the first time ever, over 50%. What's going on with SegWit?
Well, so I mean, everyone was saying it's going to take forever to do SegWit adoption about a year ago. We're already at 50%. And that should tell you everything about incentives aligning rather than like people getting stuck in old patterns or something like that. As long as there is an economic incentive, and there certainly is with SegWit style payments, you don't have to pay as many fees. That means that people are incentivized to use it, and it's been proven for a year. I expect this to be closer to like 80% in a year or two. But I mean, there's all the reason in the world to use this stuff from an economics perspective. All of these people on Bitcoin Cash that are like, yeah, Lightning's not going to do anything. It's never going to get here. It's going to take 10 years. Yeah, be very careful about making predictions about technology, because the adoption curve can be very, very quick. And you can see like giant bumps in like March and like June and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, hey, what can I say? All those naysayers were wrong, and there we go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yep. I have Willy Woo's site up for you.
Go to his chart. Go to like his home, like the back button.
Ruble.
Yeah, go to
I'm gonna have to find this one.
Charts, right there.
You see charts?
All the way at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it.
And if you go to his SegWit adoption chart, Bitcoin SegWit on the right side.
Right side. Yeah.
So
thank you guys.
I was chatting with him the other day, and I actually asked him to add into this chart. Oh, he even added. He did some more. So I asked him to add the transaction fee into the chart. So he had his own SegWit adoption chart. Now it doesn't look like we crossed the 50% barrier yet, and the chart from the other article also didn't look like we crossed the 50% barrier yet, or maybe we crossed it for like a second, and this is a longer term scale. But I asked him to add, so you can see on one chart what the fees are along with the SegWit adoption. So the yellow line is the percentage of the SegWit adoption. And so just a really great chart. I only wanted to this chart up to give Willie a shout out. Thank you for adding it, because I needed this for my presentation to take a screenshot of it. And again, every time we talk about SegWit adoption, this is my chance to talk about what a shitty wallet blockchain.info is. It's the biggest wallet we have in the world. It is, you probably didn't hear it. I talked about it on my, so there's three types of wallets, right? There is like, good wallets.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the top. Like for me, it's like Samurai, Electrum is up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like outright scams.
Mm-hmm.
So these are like the wallets where some guy in his basement is making the private keys and sending them to you, right?
Yeah.
And it's a wallet. It's like, literally scams, right? So that above those scams, like just above those scams is blockchain.info. So it is by far the worst wallet. Please don't use that wallet. The CEO of that company on January 1st, 2017 said they were SegWit ready. And today they still have not adopted SegWit as far as I know. So that is very frustrating. And the moment they actually adopt SegWit or completely go out of business, that chart immediately jumps to 70%. Okay, probably. And there is, who else? BitPay hasn't adopted it yet. Like so many big companies haven't adopted it yet. And you know what? They're not going to have a choice. They're going to be out of existence sooner or later if they don't. And this is great. And you know what? It's not even necessary. All of those fees, that giant blue spike, the giant fee spike, that's spam. That's just straight up spam.
Yeah, I love how everyone like crows on that as if it's like a permanent stated thing. You look at this chart and it's very clear that it was a very temporary move.
Right.
And they make it like, especially the Bitcoin Cash people, they make it sound like it was like a permanent state of affairs for a very long time. Lasted a month, guys. It wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
And you know, if you have a long time horizon, if you're thinking long term, if you have a low time preference, then none of this.
And I really like this chart. Like you can zoom in on that. Like if you put your cursor like around, like in the middle of 2017, and then just drag it to the right side. Yeah, then just drag it to the right. Or
drag it.
No, you gotta click on it. You have a map. Not that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is gonna work out.
There's a home button. There's a home button.
Oh God,
no.
no.
Man.
No, not that button.
Starting over.
That button works.
Yeah.
Right. So if you grab it and you just like do like a square. Nope.
I don't think you're gonna want me to try to do this.
Yeah, you know what, Leah, we'll train you for next time. All right, we're good.
Never mind.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
let's go to the next story.
Well, actually, next is your weather report. But I did want you, Jimmy, to follow up on Tones. What is your favorite wallet, and what do you think about that comment?
I'm still not completely satisfied with all of the wallet choices. I think there should be something that's hardware based, preferably FIPS 140-2 level 3 at least. That hardware security module type stuff, and that'll come eventually. I think consumer level is inevitable. But for now, it's using like a hardware wallet is I think reasonable. Cold storage is even better. But it depends on your use case. I mean, if you want to use it as a method of payment, then Lightning is probably the way to go. If you want to use it for, anything up to like $500, then maybe like a phone wallet is okay. Anything above that, you probably should use at least something like a Trezor, Ledger, or Kiki or something like that. Anyway, let's look at the weather report. It looks interesting. So we can see that spike that always happens every morning. And if you want to get it in on the next block, you're going to have to pay 40 to 50 Satoshi per byte. But if you're willing to wait a little bit and do like a daily transaction or something, then 1 Satoshi per byte is fine. You can see like starting at around 12 to about midnight on this chart. The mempool just clears every time. So that means that, even the 1 Satoshi stuff gets through. And it doesn't take very long for all of these transactions to go through because, there's more block capacity than there are transactions. So you're okay as long as you don't need it in right now. Again, if you need it right away, you're going to get squeezed a little bit on fees and you're going to have to pay the miners. But if you have a little patience, if you have a longer term horizon, then you should be okay.
Thanks, Jimmy. And Tone, and I'm going to have you guys pull up the Carnivory afterwards. I am staying with Sasha right now at the Airbnb, and she reminded me and woke me up to say that you were trading. So that was fun at, I think, 2 a.m. in the morning here. So let's see it again, though. But for anyone that missed it, there was a longer trading video earlier, at least morning here, my time. But depends on where you are in the world.
Yeah, cool. And here is that Carnivory dinner. We are having the Carnivory dinner on Sunday. It will be the last night of the conference. We're going to have to start promoting it here a little bit. It will be great. We can't wait to go to that Brazilian place. Though we are in check. They do have good meat here. I know I had a good steak last night.
Well, you had like three, didn't you? Yeah, you had like one steak, a burger, and a steak tartare, and a couple of sugary drinks, I think.
Unfortunately, yeah, I still can't stay away from my alcohol as much as I try. I was able to cut out the veggies. I still have problems cutting out the sugar, but yeah. So I had a steak and I had a burger, and then I had a steak tartare a little bit later. I was starving this morning, so when me and Peter Todd came to the conference, we went out. We went to the kebab, not kebab place.
Did you go to Moto Burger? Because that's where I went.
It was like right next door. I went to the kebab place and I just got a bunch of meat like off the skewer. And
was it lamb or was it chicken?
It was beef.
Okay, it was beef. Okay, I should have gone there.
It looked like lamb, but it was beef.
Okay.
I hope it was beef. And but yeah, we'll get something good tonight. All right, so that's the carnivory dinner. If you are here in Prague and you're watching us instead of watching the panelists, that's kind of bad, but come out. All right, my workshops are, here they are. Oakland, man, so controversy over Oakland, man, with their new
Yeah.
Jesus. So I am going to be going to Oakland. I will.
Well, I didn't realize you're going to Brisbane and you have two things in Sydney. Wow.
Yeah, because one got sold out, so I added a Sunday. And then with the anticipation that Melbourne will also get sold out, I had already added another day. So look, this is Australia. Perth, 2 in Melbourne.
You're going all the way to Perth? Oh my God.
I'm starting in Perth. Well, it's not all the way to Perth because I'm coming from Singapore, right?
Okay,
so
right.
Perth is on the west coast.
Yeah.
The thing is, from Brisbane, I have to go back to Singapore before going to Oakland. So that's the problem.
Okay.
And had I known I had to go back to Singapore, I would have done Melbourne last because from Brisbane, flights to Singapore are not that common, and because it's a small city.
Yeah.
So I gotta book all my stuff, and of course, Vegas is gonna get announced possibly next video. The website's almost ready for the conference, and we'll do these around this time tomorrow.
Hey, can I show my stuff? All right.
Yeah.
Go to programmingblockchain.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. So here is mine. I just announced 4 new venues. So I'm in. I have my seminar on Monday and Tuesday. Man, my website's really long. I need to do something about this. I don't really know how to do any of this stuff that well. But Sydney, December 6th and 7th. Vegas, January 24th and 25th. So that's like my winter schedule.
Yeah, man, you're coming through Melbourne, Australia, like 2 weeks after me.
I know, but it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be exciting. I haven't been to Australia in like 13 years or something like that. Getting to visit all these places that I got to visit as a single person, now finally get to do it. So it's kind of nice.
And so Vegas, this is going to be the conference that we're putting on in Vegas. I will do my workshop there as well. The website's going to launch soon, so keep an eye on that. Probably this weekend. It's almost complete for registrations. All right, let's do the price real quick because I actually have to go speak. And here's the monthly chart. There's not much going on. Nothing has changed from this morning. Let's go to the weekly chart. Let's take a look. This is going to be a very short price brief because as long as we're staying in this triangle, nothing is happening. Nothing is changing. We're on a green price flip. Next week will probably be a red price flip again. As long as we're not going below 62 and as long as we're not going above 7, we are in a wait and see mode. You got to wait for this triangle to break one way or another. Here's the daily chart. We're going back into this range. We just fell back into this range. Now, this range is not a bad thing. It goes up fairly quickly. What I said this morning is this was an old channel where we were loving the fact that Bitcoin was in this channel, giving us a bull market. We overshot the channel. We'll probably undershoot the channel. But in either case, sooner or later, you're touching the bottom of the channel. So either Bitcoin is going to stay above 6,000 all the way into next year, all the way to February for us to touch the bottom of this channel, or we're going to crash real hard down to 4,500 to touch the bottom of the channel. Most likely it will be somewhere in between. So sometime next month, we're going to drop to 4,900, touch the bottom of the channel, maybe go back up to the top of the channel, then hopefully we'll stay in this channel indefinitely. And that's actually a good thing for the bullish picture of Bitcoin. Here's the 12-hour chart, and the 12-hour chart is doing nothing. Below this line was a short trade, probably out of this short trade. Once you get a green number above another green number, it could be a bullish trade, which we had in the last 12 hours. And now we're again stuck. I mean, Bitcoin is just not interesting right now. That's why there's a Bloomberg article today saying Bitcoin is boring. We're going to need a lot more of those articles, and then maybe Bitcoin can start its own bull market. Here's the hourly chart, 4-hour chart. Again, not really doing much. However, if we can get a brand new high close, if we can get a close above 6,600, could be a bit of a bull run. How high can we go before we fall back down? Well, you have the 30-week moving average at 72, and you have the top of the triangle at 7. So that's as high as it can actually go and still stay in a bearish trend before considering bullish trades. Shorts continue to leverage up, which could mean a short squeeze, so watch out. I think the equity markets have opened, right? I want to see. Yeah, the S&P 500 is going down. This is a very bad sign. I warned people in my early morning video that if the S&P goes down today, that is a sign to get out. Gold is, of course, has a negative correlation to that. AMD, I've been bearish on. I think it's about to go lower. Yeah, there goes Apple. Apple tops on a 9. Big red candle today, price flip. The short trade was there at the open. You don't have to wait for a red 2 below a red 1 off of a 9 price flip. Here is Facebook. Again, I'm very bearish Facebook. That's a weekly chart. We can go to a daily chart. I said Facebook was a disaster. But it's coming up on a 9 in a couple of days, so it could be a relief rally. Everything is down. Tesla is going back to the lows. This should have been a 9 if Elon Musk wasn't an idiot. This is just this candle should have been in line with the moving average. Should have been an 8 candle. This should have been a 9 candle. This should have been a price flip candle. It was a perfect short trade off the 9 high. But this is what we have. And I'm bearish Tesla from a technical perspective, but I'm bullish what they're doing over there. And Amazon, same thing. That's a hyperwave line. That could get interesting. And final stock is Netflix. Again, very bearish. Yeah. So I gave a huge warning early in the morning. You can see Netflix opened on a down gap, perfectly closed the gap, which is common. Yeah, those of you that were in equities should have been very, very careful this morning. I gave all the warnings at 1 a.m. Plenty of time to watch my video on this if you're a traditional trader in the equity markets. All right, we are here. This is who I'm up against. I will be speaking at the same time as Smuggler, who's a very nice guy, by the way. Me and Eric Lombroso will be speaking at the same time. And then there is some kind of music, but we're probably going to go find a steak. And,
a big one. Yeah. Make sure it's big, because I can't have no 200-gram steak over here.
I'll also be speaking at Hackers Hack It coming up along with Peter Todd. We're off to Ukraine, and then Crypto Expo in Asia. I don't really know too many speakers, but I do have.
I don't recognize a single person on here.
I recognize 2 only because I speak at these kinds of events more often. But yeah, other than me, Jimmy, you probably don't know anyone.
I don't. I really don't.
Which is impressive.
How do you fill a whole panel of speakers without a single recognizable name? Who are these people? I've never heard of any of them.
Like I said, it's impressive. So I'm going to go check that out. I will be there. I have some tickets to give away. I'll figure out a way to do that through Twitter. And then I'll be back at the Block Show. You'll recognize some of these speakers.
Let's see.
You may not be happy
Bobby, Thomas Lee, yeah. Obviously you, Joseph Young.
Yeah, I mean, you'll recognize more of these people.
Yeah,
Still, mostly no, but... and these conferences are in Asia, they do have...
Yeah, they have their own crypto people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's a bunch of stuff in Australia. All right. Well, that's it for us. And hey, if you guys like my work and you want to support my work, please check out the affiliate page. It eventually loads. There it is. And you know, these are your discount codes and other affiliate codes, and
Your
my
equipment.
Amazon equipment. Exactly. All right. We're gonna stop screen share, and that's it for us.
Awesome, guys. Is it going to be live streamed?
Yeah, the whole event is live streamed somewhere. We gotta find out where the streams are. Well, these are interviews behind us being live streamed by the World Crypto Network. But the actual presentations, they're all being live streamed. I heard somewhere. Just Google for them. We'll try to send out the link before I do my presentation.
Awesome,
It's actually the
guys.
presentation that did from blockchain from Bitcoin Wednesday. I'm going to be retiring this presentation soon, so it's like my last circuit. And then going into next year, I'll have a whole new round of presentations.
You know what they say about barbers? The best best haircuts that you're gonna get from a barber is their first one and their last one. So you gotta watch the last one that Tone does of this particular presentation.
Debatable on Tone's last barber cut that was actually live stream. All right, I'll stop being mean. Guys, have a lot of fun today. Jimmy.
You're so mean. You're so mean.
I am mean.
That actually was my last haircut. That was like 2 months ago. You have no idea what's going on under this hat right now. I gotta find a barber somewhere on my travels.
Or a wig.
That would be awesome. It was good. I told you to do a reverse mohawk. Everybody in the live stream did. Maybe one day.
I might tweet out some options before I do my next haircut.
Actually, you should sell it for Bitcoin. I bet you people would pay a lot of money to see a particular pattern on your head.
I know. I might. I'm waiting for lightning, and then we're gonna do this kind of stuff.
No, but there's not enough capacity. People are gonna pay like a whole Bitcoin. You can't pay that much.
I don't know if you'll pay that much. All right, guys.
All right, guys. All right. Everybody
this
have a great day. Jimmy. Yes. Tone.
Bye, guys. Good luck trading.